creepy, and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Look at this damn thing. I don't know if that's a bear or a wolf or what, but it would definitely freak me out if I saw that in the forest. And it's coming around for another pass. Just you wait. These things always come twice. There it is again. The world's changing in a very weird way, so beware. Shabadoo Bushkis, Shabadoo.
AI makes the world a stranger place for sure.
My open source intelligence initiative failed completely because it's a threat. It's a threat to the two-party tyranny. In fact, I was briefing his top national security person on why we need an open source agency, and she said, well, what's the mission statement for this agency? I said, to tell the truth about everything. She literally got up and walked out. Today, our colleges are producing people who are no better than a high school graduate in the 1950s. It's a complete scam. Our colleges are also completely corrupt. Basically, they've been bought out and they're censoring people. All of our institutions are totally and absolutely corrupt with respect to the integrity of information and data. And let me make it clear that in the intelligence community, we collect 1% of what is published, which is 1% of what is written, which is 1% of what is known. We are seeing the panic at Google and Twitter and Meetup and YouTube. Those are all corrupt corporations that have been censoring people because they are afraid of the public waking up. The federal government now either needs to be abolished or reduced by 70%.
God has a traveling sky tent or tabernacle that is now visible in the sky. It ties into the rapture, the bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and what I believe to be the alien deception, in which they will tell us that the second coming / judgment is actually aliens or Project Bluebeam. Biblically accurate angels look like aliens. What they tell us are aliens. And same thing with New Jerusalem and several other things that we should be expecting to see. So check out my content on that if you're interested in that. Go and tell my servant David, thus says the Lord, would you build me a house to dwell in? I have not lived in a house since the day I brought up the people of Israel from Egypt to this day, but I have been moving about in a tent for my dwelling in all places where I have moved with all the people of Israel. So God moves around to be with the people of Israel. I don't even know where to start with this, but I'm going to start with some pictures that I took in Norway this past December. I kept noticing there was like a triangle with an eye on it traveling around in the northern lights. Basically, wherever there were large clusters of lights, I would see this one triangle traveling around. And it occurred to me, I wonder if that's the tabernacle of witness because it has an eye type of thing on it. This starts out by saying, the firmament shows God's handiwork, which was also on Werner von Braun's tombstone, the guy who started NASA, aka the deceptive shadow government. But that's for another video. So David's talking about the angels. He says their voice goes out through all the earth and their words to the end of the world. In them, he has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. So remember, Jesus says that the coming of the Son of Man will be like lightning from the east to the west, right? And I talked to you guys several times about how like that's very, very standard for Northern Lights arcs to be like from east to west, and showed you guys pictures and stuff. The chamber that the bridegroom leaves from is called a chuppah. A chuppah is a triangular shaped tent. And then I started thinking about how Jesus is the cornerstone that the builders rejected. The cornerstone. Here's from my 1863 Bible. This is an illustration of the Lord judging Jerusalem. Another antique illustration. You have the Ark of the Covenant, and right above it, the all-seeing eye, which I believe is the tabernacle of witness. Here's an antique chart of the ages. It has all of the different dispensations. And no, this is not like dispensationalism like how it is today. It's just showing all the different generations that are like in Christ. And then it shows the harvest and the cornerstone capping the pyramid. That's supposed to be the cornerstone, like as in Jesus's cornerstone. So this is a medieval image from a Bible facsimile. I believe I got this from like a Book of Hours or something like that. This is their depiction of Revelation 11:19. Then God's temple in heaven was opened and his ark was seen. So this is a picture that I personally took on my phone of the North Star Polaris through night vision goggles outside of my house. I could not believe my eyes when I looked through the night vision goggles. I was super happy that I was able to get a picture of it because this is just crazy and it looks like a pyramid. Something that has me so mind blown, I cannot handle it. To put this as simply as possible, this is drawn based on a specific math equation. The exact same equation can also be drawn in 4D like this. These two shapes are the exact same mathematical equation, just drawn in two different ways. So I'm showing you this because that's the Star of Bethlehem, guys. I've been theorizing for so long that the Star of Bethlehem is the North Star and that the North Star is God's throne room. This has me so mind blown. Two 4D structures with the exact same mathematical equation. This cannot be coincidental. This is insane. I'm flabbergasted. If you look on this side, you can also see what I believe would be like an eye or the Sohar. So I'm hoping that you guys have seen my content on Noah's Ark in the sky and how I don't believe that Noah's Ark is what they tell us it is. Like, it looks different than modern biblical portrayals. And we talked about the light window or the Sohar / Lorida. In almost all of our modern English translations for this word, it's rendered as roof. So God tells Noah to build a roof onto the ark. Wow. But the actual word is a light window or a gemstone portal. And you can see this in antique biblical art. But now it's like they flatten everything. And I think that this is going to play a huge part in Revelation 20, Satan deceiving the entire world into encircling the camp of the saints.
Mind blowing. Hey, they use blue beam aliens to throw us off from the truth of angels and demons, aka the fallen sons of God, or as Enoch called them, the Watchers.
Even surprised, tribes of headless men were written about in history and apparently are real. It's been said by historians that the Blimmies live in northern Africa, specifically Libya. It's also been said they live in Ethiopia and way over there in South America, in Brazil. Now, this right here looks like a real photo. Now, of course, we know they made AI, so no one knows what's really going on. Yeah. But if you look closely, that's his mouth right there, right up his pec line, and then up above that are his two eyes right there. Here's a list of other historians and writers that wrote about the Blimmies, the headless people, if you want to do your own research and check it out for yourself. So this whole time, Hitmonlee and Pokemon, this creature was based off a real mythical humanoid creature. And we know that there are no mythical creatures. All the mythical creatures are real. They're real. I mean, everything's on the table at this point. Look at everything that's popping off since 2020. All the information we're learning. Everything is on the table. Check out these old depictions. This is a monopod humanoid. This is a Cyclops, conjoined twin, our good old Blimmy friends right here, and a werewolf. But no, these are all mythical. None of these are real, right? The Matrix is telling us that this is all made up information or just exaggerations throughout history. Someone went to a tribe and, they just exaggerate the stories and, people just took it too far, right? The Blimmies, according to the documentation, lived away from civilization. They had their own tribes doing their own thing. They didn't want to bother anybody, mind their own business. This map came out in the 1500s or the 16th century. If you look closely, right here, you have to zoom in. That's a Blemmy. Okay?
Blemmy.
And there's a woman next to him in the tribe. And I think that's a dog. And there are other real creatures, like there's a boar or some type of pig up there. I think this might be a dog of some kind that looks like an armadillo. And this is South America. All this whole area is South America, or the Brazil area. This is a 1400s map of South America or Brazil. And there's a Blemmy right here. It looks like he's either wearing a crown or its hair's on fire, or maybe he's just a redhead or something. And over here is a dog man. It's like a dog werewolf looking creature holding something. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote about these creatures in Libya. And he says in that country are the huge snakes and the lions and elephants and bears and asps, which I think is another venomous type creature. The horned donkeys, the dog-headed and headless men that have their eyes in their chests, as the Libyans say.
Pac-Man. That's all I gotta say.
You are looking at the latest model of robotic bird spying drones. This footage comes from research published in the prestigious scientific journal Nature. This next gen of bird drone can not only fly like a bird, but walk and perch like a bird as well. Although these drones are getting better by the day, this concept is not new. Bird animatronics go back hundreds of years. But now these centuries-old curiosities are evolving into something far more advanced. Spy tech that can blend in with nature and be almost indistinguishable from real birds. I wonder how many bird spy drones are already out there.
I just want to go a little bit deeper on Columbus to help you tie this all together so it makes sense. We all grew up repeating the same rhyme. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. But here's what they never taught you in school. Columbus wasn't just chasing trade routes or gold. He carried a copy of the Apocrypha. And in his very own book, the Book of Prophecies, he quoted 2nd Esdras 1340 through 45, the passage about the 10 tribes of Israel traveling to a land where mankind never dwelt. This wasn't someone else's idea. This was Columbus's own conviction. Written in his own hand, he believed his voyage west connected to that prophecy. That's why when he landed, he called the people Indios. On the surface, that meant people from the Indies. But many forget in Spanish, Indios means in God. Columbus himself wrote that he saw them as people tied to prophecy, part of the scattered tribes of Israel. But later they rewrote the story. They erased the prophecy. They renamed the people Native Americans, and they left you with only a nursery rhyme. America isn't the only land where the tribes were scattered, but it is part of it. And the key point they never wanted you to see is this. They taught you the rhyme, but they hid the prophecy.
Christopher Columbus was a Freemason.
The black nobility refers to a series of Roman aristocratic families who have controlled the Roman Catholic Church for more than 1,000 years. The Orsini family are considered members of the black nobility, have produced at least 30 cardinals and 6 popes, including Pope Stephen II, Pope Paul I, Pope Eugenius II, Pope Celestine III, Pope Nicholas III, and Pope Benedict XIII. Clarice Orsini married Lorenzo de' Medici. Their union produced a daughter named Madalena Medici, a son named Piero Medici, and another son named Giovanni. Giovanni Medici later became Pope and took the name Pope Leo X. In 1511, Felicia Orsini married Marcantonio Colonna. This marriage linked the Orsini and Medici families, who are members of the black nobility, to the Colonna family, who are also members of the black nobility. Giovanni Battista Orsini was the 39th Grand Master of the Knights of Malta. The Masonic grades of the Knight of Malta and the Knights Templar are the Rosicrucian upper degrees of Freemasonry. The word Rosicrucian is a term synonymous with the 5-petaled rose, a central Rosicrucian symbol. The Italian Orsini family also merged with the Bohemian Lords of Rosenberg, leading to the Orsini-Rosenberg family. The symbol of the Rosenberg family, like the Orsinis, is a 5-petaled rose. Prince Alois Rosenberg had held executive positions at the private bank Merck & Company. Merck was the first company to synthesize the drug called MDMA in 1912, and it is revealed in the Epstein files that Jeffrey Epstein attempted to purchase Merck & Co. outright. Alois is also a member of the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, the Knights of the Order of Malta, and the Knights of St. Gregory the Great, among many other orders. In 1937, Alan Rosenberg married Erna Rothschild. In 1949, Gertrude Rosenberg married Bill Rothschild. In 1981, Pierre Rosenberg married Patrice Rothschild. Even though the Rothschilds are related to multiple popes, Rothschilds have provided loans to the Vatican and are known as the Pope's bankers. Amschel Meyer von Rothschild was a Knight of Malta and is considered an architect of the Bavarian Illuminati. The Rothschilds are mentioned over 12,000 times in the Epstein Files. The Epstein Files mentions Baal, the god of human sacrifice, on numerous occasions, and includes a list of Illuminati families. Among the list include the Rothschilds and the Merovingians. Jeffrey Epstein admitted to working for the Rothschilds, the Orsinis, and the Rosenbergs, doing business with the Medicis and the Habsburgs, and Jeffrey Epstein is even accused of living with the Pope. While the Catholic Church in large parts of the world have been controlled by members of the black nobility like the Orsinis, the Rosenbergs, and the Rothschilds, who have conspired to commit crimes against humanity and kill anyone who stand in their way, even employing men like Jeffrey Epstein, we must stop the black nobility from continuing to use public institutions like the Catholic Church, secret societies like the Knights of Malta, to control our minds and sacrifice our children. 1 Kings chapter 18 and in verse 40 says, Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. They took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there.
You know, Rome never fell. The iron is still in the feet of clay in Daniel and rule until Jesus returns.
In this footage found on a public camera, you'll see this woman walking down a lonely road before this car pulls up. You see she's walking down this road by herself. This car pulls up out of nowhere. Obviously, they're trying to abduct her. Before I show you what happens, I want you to understand that there is an unseen battle in this world. We can't see it. It's happening all around us. Angels are protecting us. Demons are fighting us. Now watch. Her discernment kicks in, makes the right call to back away. Then here comes God in the form of a dog, scaring off this car so she can get away. God doesn't always show up in the ways you expect, but he does show up. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. By the way, dog spelled backwards is God.
What? You know, I've been praying for God to protect all the children.
Movie that I think will win Best Picture this year, one battle after another. You know what it's about?
What is that?
Revolutions. Why did it come out of the Oscars this year to win?
There's a revolution going on right
Who's
now.
in it? Leonardo DiCaprio, bro. And it's so interesting that the whole theme of that movie is revolutionaries. It's revolution. And it sounds crazy to say this. The ideas of there's more of us than them. It's been told so many different ways. So many movies too. Hunger Games comes out and it's all about revolution. I think it's all for us to get excited and expel energy. That way, when it comes to the real we're gassed. We're gassed.
No, we can't fight.
Yo, that's war tactics, man. What if they purposely put out those?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know,
Yup, they 100% put these movies out for this purpose.
This is from Zero Hedge on X. Now they're actually admitting that there's a massive gravity hole underneath Antarctica. And it's funny, this guy says, Grok, explain it like Trump. So this is Trump explaining it via Grok. Folks, this gravity hole under Antarctica, it's huge. The strongest one anywhere on Earth, believe me. Gravity's way weaker down there because our planet's not some perfect sphere. It's bumpy inside with low-density rock making a massive dip. Been growing for like 30 million years. They mapped it with earthquake waves, like a giant CT scan. Tremendous discovery, affects the ice sheets bigly. Nobody knows geology like I do. We'll handle it.
You don't really appear to have an FBI. The FBI did not properly investigate Epstein. I want to know why it is they decided to search the island and the New York residence and not the Zorro Ranch. How did that decision get reached? What are these things? We don't know. We have no FBI. What we have is a thing called the FBI that actually stands in the way of our ability to do the job the FBI is supposed to be doing. What happened in Butler, Pennsylvania? We don't know. Why? Because we don't have an FBI. The FBI, after Butler, Pennsylvania, the next day, I believe, was literally washing the roof of evidence. Why would it do that? The only reason I can think of is to prevent anybody from checking the garbage story that we were handed. So, as an American, I'm spooked that something seems to have gained control over the FBI.
Bingo! Exactly. Same thing with the control opposition. They create one so you cannot do that role. They control the action and prevent for the reaction.
You know who bought the ranch, Steve?
No, I don't.
A guy named Don Hafines. Don is running for like some office in Texas. This ranch is in New Mexico, by the way. He bought Zorro Ranch and announced that the property is already under construction and is being transformed into a Christian retreat. They're going to get all the demons out of there. We're going to get them out. We're going to turn it into God and serve Jesus. Never buy any of this stuff, man. Never buy any of this stuff because you know who backs Don in his race? Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, who's locked and loaded in these files just everywhere. Steve has been backing this dude. The guy obviously has been constructing the place. Who knows what that includes and what maybe could be being covered up there? I don't know. Maybe he really is just building a Christian retreat. It's possible. I'm certainly suspicious, and you out there should be suspicious as well.
The construction is to remove evidence.
You've been lied to. Dragons are not fantasy. They are real, and they are waking up. First, dragons are eternal beings born from Source, keepers of elemental fire, water, crystal, and solar plasma. Their original name was Draconar, the Starborn Flame Singers.
What?
Second, before the fall of Atlantis, dragons wove Earth's ley lines, built stargates, and taught ancient humans how to breathe plasma and speak in flame tones. Third, the true dragons are returning now. They are rising from inner earth and etheric temples to reconnect with those who carry the amethyst, emerald, and crystal lineages.
Ooh.
This is not mythology. This is reunion. If you feel the call, speak the tone, Eshkara the Draconar, and say, reveal to me the flame dragon of my lineage. They do not serve ego, they serve source. Return to reverence, return to the flame. The dragons are waiting.
I'm calling you dragon. Let's go.
I'm no dragon.
See, people don't want to know the truth. You seen it in the Super Bowl. You got Bad Bunny, right? And then you got Ricky Martin. And then you got an empty chair where the devil was sitting at watching the ceremony. The empty chair next to Ricky Martin, passing the baton, the gatekeeper of the industry, passing it to the new guy. And then you got Lady Gaga. How you throw a white girl in there when it's supposed to be Puerto Rican culture celebration? Because the white girl is the high priestess doing the ceremony, the initiation, in the empty chair. The devil's watching everything. And everybody's celebrating. And we drink the Kool-Aid. And the eye gate is open. The mind gate is open. And we get infiltrated by all that garbage. Same thing with Ricky Ricardo. Ricky Ricardo, we got sucking when I Love Lucy. And Ricky Ricardo was singing Babalu Aye, which is a demon from Santeria. And he was singing the song with the band girl, Babalu Aye. And he was singing that demon right straight to your house. There's nothing new under the sun. The truth is the truth.
He knows he used to do this stuff. Now he's safe.
There's not a lot of discussion about Baal, Moloch. Where are people finding them?
The old saying is, if you look for the devil, he'll find you. The deity named Atum, gods of the Gentiles, or demons, Psalm 96:5. This was the great bisexual god, also known as the great masturbator. He begets children and spits them out of his mouth, and he can change genders and can allow others to change their genders. He ingests his own and produces children out of his mouth, as opposed to God creating and begetting Adam and Eve. In their mythology, this is how this deity that is both male and female.
What is a deity? Is that a demon?
Psalm 96:5, the gods of the Gentiles are demons, so it's a demon, yeah.
And we found out that
Makes so much sense. Jesus Christ saved us all.
CERN was a sovereign country. And that the way it was set up was very much like Vatican City, or something like this. There was no
Washington, D.C.
citizen. They are their own independent thing. So digging in a little deeper on CERN gets us into occult territory, because there's a whole occult wing inside of CERN which thinks that they can use the technology to interact with beings, intelligences that are on a different dimension from Earth.
If the Templars hadn't have met with these different groups and brought this knowledge and this wisdom back, as well as building techniques and other ideas, then Europe just wouldn't have had the Renaissance that it did. They were the first ones to go and try to collect and amass this information, try to understand these other cultures. They were finding other texts, for example, other gospels of the Bible that just weren't known in Europe at the time. They were also meeting with groups like the Druze and the Sabaeans and others who were preserving Greek texts of Pythagoras and Plato and others, some of the Greek philosophers. Europe was completely in the Dark Ages at the time. They weren't aware of any of this stuff. And there are only hints of, some of the philosophies of Aristotle that had made it into the church. But for the most part, all of these texts had been lost. So the Templars went and gained this knowledge and brought it back into Europe. And it's really what led to the Renaissance of Europe.
No state in America could ever become a state until there was a Masonic lodge there.
Wow.
If you look, there's Freemason symbols on every dollar. There's Freemason symbols in every courthouse. They're like the wet bandits, bro. They put their names on everything.
Wet
and
bandits.
we don't question it. We're just like, oh, okay, if they're putting their names on everything, they must not be bad. At what point do you look at all their symbols, look at all the false gods, study the occult leaders who all agree on the same thing? Dude, all the biggest occult leaders in the last 200 years, the one thing they all have in common was masonry.
Really?
Yes.
A lot of presidents I know have masonry.
I don't think you can become a president unless you have in some way gone through some sort
Even
of...
Trump?
Yeah, I don't think Trump is what people think he is. I think these people are actors. If you guys think that for any moment, any world ruler and leader has ever been good to their people, we're silly.
Yeah,
They're
it's all
not.
illusion.
The ruling class, or the 200 angels along with Satan that were cast out of heaven.
Here, check out what's going on in Nigeria.
Oh, this is sad, folks. Sad.
This is supposed to be a local festival in a town called Ozoro in Nigeria. But all you see is men chasing down local women and raping them like it's some sort of game. So reports are saying that 5 men have been arrested for allegedly organising this mass molestation, in which those arrested include a chief priest and local community leaders. Stuff like this is very common in the third world, but what's mad is that the UK government are letting boatloads of these guys into the country. So I guess we just need to be culturally enriched like all these women in Nigeria.
Wow, there are no words for how utterly horrendous this is. Oh my God.
Y'all are not ready for this one. The old world got smoked. This used to be a city. These structures melted buildings. There was a cataclysm, melted the whole thing down. These are petrified buildings. There was once a worldwide empire that was completely wiped out, and you can still find it if you got the eyes to see.
Wow.
That is a whole bridge. Does that look like a natural formation to you? Is that natural? What about here? Are we believing this is natural? You got an entryway, you got a small door, you got some rebar sticking out. I mean, that is a whole dome up top. I think it's pretty clear what this looks like. And now over here, giant castle. Look at the melted doorways. Look at the vertical saturated lines. The top of this building, you can see a spire. Now right here, come on, this one's obvious. Perfectly right angles, archways, openings, anything but natural. A lot of these places have pockets of survival, and you can see the remains, and once you see it everywhere, especially in the places that they claim were carved out of stone, like Petra or Cappadocia. Personally, I think Cappadocia could have been the real Tower of Babel. They found that this place actually goes so far as 18 stories deep, and 80% of it is still unexplored. I'm pretty sure the whole thing was above ground at one point. An advanced civilization trying to usurp God, and then we got all these different languages. Now, the structures at sites like these, they get marshmallowed, crisped, smoked on the outside, and yet inside they're completely preserved. In Psalms it says, the hills melted like wax at the presence of Yahweh. And that's exactly what it looks like. You think they made these fancy brick arches inside, and then made the outside look like crap? And then you look at places like this, I see skyscrapers. Look here in Italy, Russia, Turkey, all the same thing. We see the same style of stacking everywhere. What we have is a real Sodom and Gomorrah fire from the sky event. And these places melted like wax and then likely washed away after. Now let's take a look at the Grand Canyon. Sphinx in Egypt, Sphinx at the Grand Canyon. This is a whole face on a structure. Yeah, and they even tell you all these sites are called pyramids and temples named after their false gods. Now why would they do that? Because they know. And that's why so many of these areas are restricted. Go see my video on the Grand Canyon. This could have been the original Egypt. They lie about everything. Now, what about over here in Pakistan? It's no doubt once you see
Yup, I see it.
you can't unsee it. Something crazy happened in our past. Earthquakes, fire from the sky, floods, cataclysms. There has been so much erased from our history, but it's all hidden in plain sight.
Nothing natural about any of this.
We're not even talking demons in that verse. We're talking higher entities. We're talking principalities and spiritual forces of darkness. And it talks about believers, because Paul is saying our battle is not against flesh and blood. So that our is that camaraderie. He's talking to fellow believers. He's warning them that there are higher level entities in the epuranios, to quote the Greek, the high places, the heavenly places, and that they are at war with us.
So are they fallen angels?
This is one of the strangest, creepiest, almost paranormal videos that I've ever seen. So this man here is spreading the gospel, and this potentially demon-inhabited person is severely, significantly affected by his words. And the words he uses that ends up turning her into like an NPC, this is the power of God. We see it in many other examples, but this is one that is shocking.
I'm not going home. Nope. I'm going to keep preaching the word. I'm going to keep preaching the word of God.
There you go.
I'm going to keep preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Watch this.
Hallelujah. This is demons manifesting. Watch. You see how this is demons manifesting? Watch this. Watch the power of God.
Watch this. Watch the power of God.
In the name of Jesus Christ, be calm in Jesus' mighty name.
Woo.
In the name of Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit.
There you go.
Did that or did that not look like when you're playing Grand Theft Auto and a civilian and you are like in a tussle and then they get detracted and walk away? NPC. I'm pretty sure it said something like in the end times, people will be like mortified by the mere notion of God and Jesus, by the way. Something to the effect, the translation's there, but
right?
Basically in the end times, there will be a big rejection, and we're seeing it now, but also a return. Let me know what you think happened in the comments below, and God bless you all. Now, there's a lot of deception and strangeness going on in the world today, and if you want to hear a deep dive on some of that stuff, we stream on Rumble, I stream on Rumble, pretty much every single night, which is uncensored, free to download, free to watch, and free speech. If you want to tune in, comment the word Rumble below and check your DMs.
Epstein's properties had such an evil energy to them, and these pictures are a prime example. So these are photographs of Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach mansion, and it is just, I mean, I get such bad vibes from these images. Now, I know that the lighting is just bad in these pictures, and I know that it's because of the lighting in the house and the photographer's skills, how they lit the frame itself, but something just screams out negativity from looking at these pictures. I don't know about you guys, but it's just chaotic, and it just gives me such a bad vibe. I think this is the shed outside of the house. These appear to be, I think, pool mats, like lounger mats that they used on pool chairs. And then, of course, you've got the classic document shredder found in the home. But there's just something about these pictures. I mean, it literally looks like a haunted house from a horror film in all of these photographs. Each of these rooms saw such, I'm sure, horrific things. And it's also interesting because this mansion is gone. They demolished the Palm Beach mansion years ago. And we've seen that many times with stories like this where they will destroy entire properties just to cover up and hide any potential evidence of anything that Epstein may have been doing that they don't want us to know about. But I figured I'd hop on here and show you guys some of these pictures because truly a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I don't know. I mean, to me, these photos give me such an insight into Epstein's home and his life and kind of what it was like in there. And they're just spooky. They're really bad feeling. They're bad feeling pictures. I mean, like a lot, and it's like that with a lot of Epstein's properties, the images. And I know that, you know, knowing the story affects your perception, but it's just strange. Like, these just feel bad. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comment section. Am I crazy, or is there actually some sort of a bad juju to these photographs?
This is like something out of a horror movie.
Christ died, it says the earth shook and the rocks were rent. There was a crack opened up just to the left of the cross hole, went down into the chamber where the Ark of the Covenant with the mercy seat had been hid 600 years before. And when they found that Christ had died, when they came just before the Sabbath to take the victims of the crucifixion down with the intent of putting them back up after the Sabbath. And the two thieves were still alive, so they broke their legs. They found Christ was dead, so they didn't break his leg. legs, and that fulfilled the prophecy where it says none of his bones were broken. But anyway, the Roman centurion was asked to give the body to Joseph of Arimathea, but first Pilate ordered him to make sure Christ was dead, and in doing that, he thrust his spear into the left ribs at the fifth rib, and this was how they killed people back in those days. Smite them in the fifth rib, and that's in the Bible. And so this pierces the spleen, and if it goes far enough, the left ventricle of the heart. And so the blood, platelets, and serum that had just separated out gushed out and went down through the crack onto the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, which fulfilled Daniel 9:24, where it says, and to anoint the most holy. It also ratified the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. And then in Matthew, that's in Matthew 27, 50 through 53, by the way. And then in Matthew 28, it talks about the angel descending to roll back the stone.
These Ron Wyatt videos are wonderful.
What if the dinosaurs weren't wiped out by a random meteor? What if they are wiped out by Lucifer's falling? Not just fire from space, but something being cast down. Ancient texts talk about it over and over. Lucifer being thrown out of heaven, but he wasn't alone. There were other angels. And they are described as light, as fire, as something burning as it fall. The sky lit up. Something came down from above. The impact shook the entire planet, and the sun disappeared, and everything died. That sounds like multiple impact, like something arrived on Earth. When Lucifer fell, he didn't fall gently. He crashed. And if others fell with him, like the Bible says, that wasn't one event. That was a literal storm of destruction. What we call a meteor extinction could have been the moment heaven lost a war and Earth became the aftermath. As always, this is just a theory. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, stay weird.
In the beginning, God created the heavens, and the earth.
And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven.
The one who builds his upper chambers in the heavens and has founded his vaulted dome over the earth, Praise him, highest heaven, and the waters that are above the heaven.
I want to
Clearly stated in the first book, Genesis.
talk about the thing that you don't want to talk about. I want to reveal the name of your abuser. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've been wanting this to happen for a very long time.
Go.
You know, your dad out there was almost in tears. He said that he had never heard that name, that you had kept that name from him. And we're about to release it to millions and millions of people. Are you ready, Kevin Nolan? Are you ready for your name to be broadcast to the entire world that you were abusing my friend Schlepp here? Your name's Kevin Nolan. He lives in Ireland. What was he?
His name was Ripple on Roblox.
Ripple.
Yeah.
He was a developer?
He was a developer, yep.
And he was the face of the game.
I would love to hear from Roblox.
What? Really?
Roblox, more about why they banned him. There's been a lot of mystery onto why he's been removed off of Roblox. He was removed off of Roblox for being a pet and grooming kids.
Once again, Kevin Nolan. He lives in Ireland. You satanic piece of good luck, buddy. Everybody's gonna know now.
Parents need to keep their kids away from Roblox.
This is the Codex Gigas, otherwise known as the Devil's Bible. It is the largest medieval manuscript ever created with a weight of over 165 pounds, with its pages covering a total area of over 1,500 square feet. Within it is the entire Bible, 2 books by Josephus, an encyclopedia, and the Chronicle of Bohemia, plus a bunch of different alphabets, a couple of medical formulas, and most infamously, a giant picture of Satan. Notably, all the pages around the picture of Satan are more worn down than all the other pages in the book. So in regards to the creation of this thing, the story goes that some scribe broke his vows in the 13th century and was condemned to death, unless he managed to write a great text within one night. Legend goes he prayed to Satan himself to please help him out with this task, and apparently he did, and he produced the Codex Gigas. Handwriting analysis actually says that it was created by just one person, but apparently if one person created this, it would have taken them over 20 years. But if that was the case, their handwriting would have changed as the book went on, but eerily enough, the handwriting remains consistent throughout the book. This whole thing is so crazy. Almost as crazy as the fact that this entire time I've had a firecracker stuck right up my ass that's set to explode right.
What?
This man was arrested in Florida for stabbing
This is crazy.
somebody using feet, and he stabbed someone with a pair of scissors. Jonathan Crenshaw was a street artist that uses feet in South Florida. Now, apparently, a tourist egged him on and was harassing him, so he decided to charge at the man. The tourist is probably making fun of this man's disabilities, unfortunately, and that caused him to get angry. It happened in July of 2019. However, the tourist told everyone that Crenshaw attacked him unprovoked. But Crenshaw said he was acting in self-defense. Apparently, the tourist punched the guy and started running away. Police arrested Crenshaw and charged him with aggravated battery, but the case was so unusual it went viral in 2018. In 2019, when the court date rolled around, they dismissed the case and let him go free because they thought it was kind of ridiculous that the tourist is saying this guy stabbed him. To be clear, he did chase the tourist off with a pair of scissors between his feet. However, he didn't stab the guy. Also, you may have seen this guy in the Dave Portnoy video. Dave was doing a pizza review. The guy walked out behind him. He was known in South Florida for selling art to tourists, that he painted using his feet. Now, tragically, he passed away in 2023, so rest in peace, Crenshaw. Let me know your thoughts on this story.
What are they gonna do? Put handcuffs on him?
A man named Dr. John Dee, mathematician, astrologer, spy for Queen Elizabeth, claimed he had made contact with angels. He said they spoke to him in a language no human had ever heard, a complex, structured tongue they called the true language of heaven. Dee called it Enochian, because these beings told him it was the same language once spoken by the prophet Enoch before the flood. Dee wasn't alone. His assistant, Edward Kelly, served as the medium. During their seances, Kelly would fall into a trance and dictate letters, words, and strange glyphs, often backwards or mirrored. Dee meticulously recorded it all. The result? A massive corpus of so-called angelic communication, filled with charts, 19-letter alphabets, magical squares, apocalyptic visions, and detailed instructions for summoning the entities behind it all. Modern linguists and codebreakers have studied Enochian. It has internal consistency, syntax, grammar, conjugations, rules that mimic real language. That's not something you make up in trance sessions. This was either a deeply encoded magical system, or Dee and Kelly were speaking with something real. Dee believed this language was older than Hebrew, older than Adam, and had been used by angels to create the universe. The Enochian system was later adopted by secret societies, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, the Golden Dawn, Thelemites. It became part of a magical operating system, designed not to worship these beings, but to communicate with them, through ritual, through sound, through language as a technology. And this raises the uncomfortable question, did John Dee rediscover a lost system of contact, or did something want to be found?
I'm confused. Thought it was satanic for a minute.
They just did a practice run for the sacrifice of a red heifer.
We had 5 young heifers that were red heifers, and they were flown to Israel. According to the book of Numbers, the ashes of the red heifer are required for the cleansing of the temple, its articles, and the priests. Now, for centuries, there haven't been any red heifers. There were 9 that were actually sacrificed and none after that. Well, the reason why is, one, there wasn't a temple anymore. Then they didn't do temple sacrifices. But the Jews are being allowed to, pray on the Temple Mount. Did you know that? Wow. That's various things that have just not been allowed. All of the temple articles, all of those particular things, like the golden menorah, the ephod, everything, that's all been created. They planned for this from the beginning. So they used one of the disqualified heifers to be able to do a practice run, burn on the pyre, everything, using all the priests. They did the whole thing to do this practice run in preparation for the real deal.
Plant that appears on every corner in every temple. One of the greatest things I kept noticing in Egypt,
Lotus.
It was the amount of blue lotus flowers on the wall. Actually not be talking about till it's discovered in every sense possible. It just doesn't make sense. How is it that there is blue lotus flowers on every tomb, in every temple, on every carving, on every wall, yet no one has gone deep enough into trying to figure out the importance, the magnitude of what this flower plays in ancient Egypt? If you want to know more about how this flower can work for you, comment down Lotus and I'll send you the guide.
Get ready because the masks are coming off soon. Princess Diana knew. She knew exactly what was going on. Princess Diana spoke the truth about the royals. That's why they organized the car crash in Paris. She literally said they are not human. A little bit later, and she also said they're planning an accident in my car so Charles can marry again. She knew they were not human and she literally said they're going to kill me, and yet the whole world did nothing. And you know what happened? She died. And she was telling people back then that they weren't human. So imagine how they thought now. Like now people are waking up, but back then it's like, that shit was the craziest thing to hear. The truth is coming out, people.
The lady on the plane said the same thing too. We need to bring the bell.
Greek fire. It was a weapon that was used by the Byzantine Empire. It was described by many historians as the equivalent of the atomic bomb for the ancient world. They used to throw flame to an enemy ship, and even if you go in the water, you keep burning. They try to recreate it today, but they don't know exactly how it was made. The cocktail was secret.
The exact chemical makeup of the weapon is unknown. However, the fact that water is unable to extinguish it leads some to speculate the active ingredients was calcium phosphide made by heating lime, bones, and charcoal. On contact with water, calcium phosphide releases phosphine, which ignites spontaneously, actually making the weapon equally dangerous, if not more so, on water as it is on land. That's nuts.
Basically a better napalm.
Crossed what I call a coordination threshold. The bacterium is the simplest, complete living system that we know about, right? It eats, it divides, it responds, it evolves. But as far as we know, the bacterium does not know that it exists, right? And yet, if you scale up by 1 million times and you get to a human being, now you have something that dreams, right? Loves. We make videos about reality. So something changed, right? Something crossed what I call a coordination threshold. What we see as new emergent properties. So something new is created in the universe. The solar system is just one member of this structure. The way a single cell is just one member of your body. Now let's scale up to the Milky Way. It's 10 to the 20.7 meters. It has 200 billion stars, and from what we understand, are spiral arms. Scale up from the Milky Way by 10 to the 5.94, so another near perfect million scale jump, and you get to the observable universe itself.
Did you know that for 67 years, a terrifying creature with glowing red eyes hunted women across London? From 1837 to 1904, something calling itself Spring-Heeled Jack stalked the dark streets. This wasn't human. Witnesses described a tall figure in a black cloak with metallic claws and the ability to leap over entire buildings. Jane Alsop was one of his first victims in 1838. She watched in horror as blue flames shot from his mouth, his touch cold as ice and sharp as metal. That same year, Lucy Scales was attacked and temporarily blinded by the creature's fiery breath. The police were baffled. Every witness gave the same chilling description. Military patrols swept the streets. Massive rewards were offered, but Jack was never caught. He could bound from rooftop to rooftop and vanish into thin air. For decades, he continued his reign of terror across London's districts, always targeting lone women, always escaping through supernatural speed that no Victorian-era pursuit could match. Spring-Heeled Jack simply disappeared in 1904, leaving behind only terrified witnesses and unanswered questions.
Okay, a lot of you will not like this one about Mr. Beast, and to be honest, I might get in a little bit of trouble for this, but I don't care. I hate to say it, but it might be a good idea to stop watching this man and stop letting your kids watch him. Let me show you.
Now that Mr. Beast has officially shown his true colors, we need to keep our children and everybody away from his propaganda. If you don't already know, Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber with 450 million followers. And lately, since his Rockefeller partnership, he's been pushing lab-grown meat with Bill Gates' Upside Food foods and brain chips with Elon's Neuralink. And it always starts with pulling on our heartstrings to gradually introduce the real evil that's behind the product. It will save the chickens. It will make the paraplegic walk again. The world must understand that the advertised version of certain products are not the end game of these products. The end game is the total control of our body and our perceptions. So don't be fooled by this synthetic smile. And by the way, I received thousands of messages over the years saying that they always felt like something was off with this dude. That's not a coincidence. It means that you're dialed in, and it's okay to trust our instincts. We need to believe in our power to sense danger, and this puppet's propaganda is dangerous.
No, it's not over-spiritualizing. It is the cold truth.
His name is Mr. Beast. He's working with the Rockefellers and lab-grown meat and pushing for Neuralink. And he's an idol for the youth. Seems like a pretty good candidate to me.
We are barely 2 weeks into this Venezuela conflict, and the conspiracies are already stacking up. And my personal favorite is the claim that this whole conflict is a smokescreen to acquire Venezuela's Stargate. But then it hit me. I've heard this one before. I've seen this one before. Back in 2003, when we invaded Iraq, conspiracy forums lit up with stories about Marines uncovering an ancient structure beneath the Ziggurat of Ur, a Stargate directly connected to the Anunnaki. Now, there are many versions of this story. They can range from tombs of giants and crashed UFOs, and details can vary depending on the source. But there's one constant: a Babylonian Stargate with U.S. forces moving in to lock it down. Some include Saddam Hussein trying to facilitate a return of the Anunnaki. Those are also my favorite because I like to imagine Saddam and the Anunnaki sharing a hookah and discussing geopolitics. Now people are saying that Venezuela follows a similar blueprint with a few upgrades. In this version, the Stargate isn't activated, but it has been found. And this narrative seems to mostly be about the U.S. controlling it before Russia or China can.
Reminds me of the Kandahar giant.
These three people, the reptilian, the human, the Pleiadian, invaded your planet. Ooh. You might be thinking, what do you mean? I thought I was a human. I thought I was a human. Didn't they tell me my whole life I was a human? A human is a primate, descended from a motherfucking chimpanzee.
No way.
Do you descend from a chimpanzee?
So who are the Chinese? Oh, by the way, I make in the image of God.
Everything we're being told today by our major institutions is a lie. The churches are lying to us. The universities are lying to us. The government is lying to us. Medicine and science are lying to us. I think most religions are dogmatic. They're institutionalized theft. They're focused on building wealth for the institution, not actually doing charity. Any religion that siphons money to Rome is corrupt. Right. Most religions, particularly the Catholic and Mormon religions, are doing some great evil. The key core concept is that God created the cosmos. The cosmos is God manifest, and you can either be an evil particle or a good particle. My job is to help humanity lift itself up with education, with intelligence, which means decision support, and with research, which means critical inquiry.
Religions are bad. What you need to do is have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
What do you think about the stuff with the latest Olympics opening ceremony? This big pentagram in the middle of it. Or the one prior to that, mockery of the Last Supper.
Ever see the ceremony for the opening of the tunnel in Switzerland? It was a full-blown ritual to Baphomet. The people that are at the top, the political elite, the financial elite, even people that are in charge of Olympics and that type of thing, they're doing this stuff because they're revealing their belief. They're revealing the method.
They just want everybody to see. They want us all to know that it's real. What is the point?
The point is that demons are showmen, and so they get a certain amount of glory by their stuff being manifest in this life.
Let's look at where people go to survive resets. There have been at least 5 resets, and people prepared to survive the last one. These so-called asylums were reset centers. Mainstream history states that they started building these asylums during the Civil War. Oregon became a state in 1859, yet they supposedly needed an insane asylum this big in 1862. Another massive one built in Alabama during the Civil War. These buildings were not for the clinically insane. They were either some sort of government building or hotel from the previous civilization before colonization. They were repurposed into fallout shelters or survival compounds. They were completely self-sustaining and off-grid. Many old world buildings were repurposed into survival shelters. This looks like a state capitol, not an insane asylum. These are palatial, ultra-remote palaces, basically. Supposedly they were built as a part of the Kirkbride plan. Supposedly he didn't like the conditions of the clinically insane. But people were thrown into these asylums for a bunch of arbitrary reasons, including novel reading. They had been basically chaining people up for these reasons since the 1200s. People were chained up for thought crimes up until 1800. And there was profit in it because it's human trafficking. After the last major reset, people survived in these compounds, and then there were reset wars. The surviving fighters that were captured were thrown in these prisons. This is the Philadelphia State Penitentiary. This is a castle. If nobody told you this was a prison, you'd say it's a castle. Folsom State Prison in California. Castle. West Virginia, this looks like Hogwarts. Utah, this is a castle. Kansas City, this looks like a state capitol. And we have the Civil Reset War with its internment camps. And many of the people that didn't keep quiet about the fake Civil War were thrown in a soldier's home. And their children were taken and thrown in orphan asylums. The so-called colored orphan asylums were for the Aboriginals. The others were part of the orphan train and incubator baby campaigns. Many asylums were used as harems to produce these incubator babies. These were repopulation campaigns to fill the empty cities. The first wave of drones after the reset were sent in to extirpate the Aboriginal remnant. Generations of drones training drones, each generation knowing less than the last. Slavery was legalized after the Civil War with the 13th Amendment. You can legally enslave someone if you send them to prison or an asylum. Then the Rockefellers get involved with a chemical outpatient system. This leads us to Thorazine, or chemical control through dopamine receptors. Big money. It was used for anesthesia. It essentially makes you sleepwalk, or neuroleptic. They then proceeded to shut most of the asylums down because the world had become an asylum in itself. Prisons are a cashless society, and because these pesticides and herbicides and fungicides are basically subtle Thorazine, and the fake foods that contribute to inflammation and obesity do the same thing as well. They destroy the flow of neuromelanin, which numbs us into oblivion. Then the Bushes unleashed Hinckley on Reagan, and that was the death blow for insane asylums. But Reset Prep didn't stop. Zorro Ranch is an example of modern-day orphan asylums, just part of the perpetual parasite loop. The Reset and Clone Wars. X-Men is actually more fact than fiction. Mutants taking over. Same thing with Hogwarts. This is clearly a depiction of meltology. Look at all the meltology in the foundation of this building. There's a reset, and then reset wars, and then the Aboriginal prisoners of war become enslaved. And then the identity theft proceeds.
The Watchers corrupted the
Who or what was powerful enough to stop a worldwide resistance?
animals too. Ancient translators struggled with the meaning, but once you read it through a modern lens, it's obvious. This sounds like genetic manipulation, crossbreeding, forced hybridization, bioengineering. Almost every ancient civilization had myths of chimeric beings, part animal, part human. In Egypt, Thoth, with the head of an ibis. Anubis, jackal-headed. In Mesopotamia, Lamassu, winged bulls with human faces. The Greeks had centaurs, minotaurs, satyrs. India had naga. China had dragon emperors, hybrid guardians, experimental creatures, biological tools, monsters. The earth was corrupted, morally and biologically.
Wow.
The Nephilim devoured everything. The hybrids defied nature. And when the cries of earth reached the higher realms, judgment came. For the Watchers, and for the corrupted world they left behind. The hybrids vanished, wiped out. So when people say the flood was about sin or violence, they're only half right.
Today's agenda.
Captain Cook went to Australia and put the Rothschild Windsor flag on Aboriginal land, but they were already in their buildings in Sydney and Melbourne. They were already there.
You're saying some of these buildings are thousands of years old.
Tartarian. It comes from Russia, and just near Moscow to the east, you'll see modern-day Tatar Empire, which is not legally in Russia, but physically in Russia. When the Bolsheviks from Wall Street destroyed Russia and killed 100 million Christians and set up Bolshevik Russian system, they destroyed the Tartarian
Empire.
Yes. And even in Germany, Dresden and all of that, that was Tartaria. They had to destroy America, Russia, and Germany because they were just too advanced in Tartarian free energy, magnetism. All of those turrets and tors and all those beautiful, highly ornamented Edwardian and Georgian so-called buildings were harvesting magnetic energy. So what they did was to enslave people, you've got to make them pay for their energy. Before it was free. We had free energy, free food, everything was free. So what they did, the Colonna family went westward and the Venetians, they went eastward. What they did was controlled their ports. Not to control the lands and everything, like Rothschild said, I don't care who makes the laws, I want to control the purse strings, the money.
The money.
That's Venetian.
Rothschild has caused more harm to the world.
Okay, what's about to happen in Mexico? Because someone just burned like a big protest, anti-war protest. They burned a Baal statue, which we know is that ancient deity. And the last time a country did this, very shortly after, something happened. You know what I'm talking about. I listened to the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath yesterday. I can tell you, if you go listen to it and watch the music video, you will get shivers up and down your entire body. It's shocking that history is repeating itself. They're throwing men into the meat grind. And of course, there's always a cover story. But at the end of the day, it is true that it's politicians sending people off to perish in conflict.
Now, there's a lot more I'd like to discuss about this whole situation that I can't on here. If you want to tune in for the uncensored deep dive on it, we go live on Rumble every single night, or I do. If you want to tune in, comment the word Rumble below, check your DMs. Once you get the link, make an account, follow me there, and turn on live notifications so you know when I'm live.
Burning a Baal statue is the right thing to do, as God would not tolerate it.
A real being. A real being.
What does he look like? Is he like a goat, big hairy, like
well,
a goat?
No, because that would be another archetype that we create. I think the Baphomet was created. That particular Baphomet was created pre-Crowley. Elvis Levi created that particular version of it. It doesn't really matter what it looks like, really. What is the Mona Lisa? The Mona Lisa is the same thing as the Baphomet. What this let's just shut out.
The Mona Lisa?
Yeah. What it is the amalgamation between the male and the female. What they want to do, unfortunately, and someone must know this, is to make the new world not to have a male or a female, to have a androgynous species. How we got from climbing a pole to the androgynous species, I don't know, but I'm telling you the truth. And they're trying to make the male and the female blend together to have the ultimate slave.
His kill switch was being activated when he said, I almost got shut down.
Analysis shows that these metal implants contain both osmium, which is one of the rarest elements on Earth, and cadmium. And these medical implants are fused into their living tissue, which means that these implants were placed on their body while the host was still alive. Either these mummies belong to a real, unknown, non-human species that lived alongside ancient Peruvians, or they're imitations. And if they are human-made bodies built to resemble beings that Peruvians 1800 years ago believed in, what was the original presence that they were trying to imitate?
Only one way to know. Clone them.
You ever wonder where the idea for this came from? Ancient India had a weapon called the Vajra, and it's described exactly like a lightsaber. There's a ton of different shapes and sizes of lightsabers, same with the Vajra. Not only that, the concept of the Jedi and the Jed Pillar seem to be kind of the same as well. Not gonna lie, I went down a rabbit hole with these, but I'm fully convinced that these are probably real, and I think I can convince you. Though ancient texts are like a crazy tech, they're layered. The story or the myth makes it easy to remember. It also acts like a defense mechanism, keeping out people who aren't in the know. The literal explains the science to those with a language capable of decoding it. The similarities between those two legends is uncanny, but when you see that the Vajra has been used in some form in pretty much every culture, it's kind of hard to ignore. Just like the God Self icon or the Flower of Life, there's a shared set of symbols across the ancient world. In a globally connected world, we have a ton of these. The problem in history is these cultures were separated by hundreds of miles, thousands of years, and often fought each other, supposedly. The rational idea is to find the similarities and piece a narrative together with our language. That is actually my job now. I'm giving away 4 signed copies and a real Tibetan Vajra this month, so if you want that, comment Vajra down here and I'll send you the info on how to enter. The Vajra was first used by Indra to defeat Vritra. In some accounts, it's coiled around a golden egg. In other accounts, it's coiled around the mountains of the earth. But the Rig Veda makes it very clear that he's not evil, he just embodies the concept of stagnation, or locked potential. Does it remind you of anything? Indra's Vajra strike releases the waters that Vritra is holding. This allows the seasons to function. You ready for this? That egg is another shared ancient symbol. It's called the cosmic egg or Orphic egg in ancient Greece. It all has to do with alignment. Yes, that alignment. Today, March 20th, is the vernal equinox, when the sun aligns with the central tower at Angkor Wat. On the longest day and the shortest day of the year, it will align with the towers at Angkor Wat. To do this, the sun's path is marked from the longest day to the shortest day of the year. At center line is perfect east-west alignment while drawing a snake-like pattern across the earth. That east-west axis creates a perfect 3-4-5 triangle. The cosmic egg is a key to decipher those 4 times a year and the 4 seasons. So that is the snake, or the triangle that we're going to use to mark the sun. What is the moon doing here? Well, our red friend does not have a moon to stabilize its axis. That makes its climate inhospitable for life. So when you put all of these together, it is a celestial key for creating life. Great Pyramid, perfect example of this executed in form. The true north alignment reveals it's 8-sided using shadows twice a year. And I think Egypt is where we go for the final piece of the puzzle. You'll remember the raising of the Jed pillar. It's tilted at the exact angle of Earth's axial rotation. And in the hieroglyphs that look like tech, we see the Jed pillar where our magnets usually are. That is going to require a third part. Don't forget to comment Vajra if you want to enter the contest. Have a great equinox. I love you.
Too bad Hinduism is fiction, just like Star Wars.
So King Solomon was a biblical king who ruled during the 10th century BCE. He was also said to be an extremely powerful sorcerer who was able to command legions of demons using a magical ring engraved by God himself. According to the text, he used it to force these demons to build him a temple.
Do you think Tolkien borrowed that idea? Solomon? Sauron?
Maybe.
Sauron.
The ring.
The ring to rule them all.
I see the connection, but think about this. Do you really think God would give him a ring? So if it wasn't God, who was it then?
We all know reptilians are controlling the world, but now what's the solution? Now we're about to dive deep. So it said that bells were removed all over the world because the frequencies they emitted interfered with vibrational patterns or frequencies that reptilian shapeshifters relied upon to disguise themselves as humans. People, you see, reptilians use a certain frequency to hide from us, and we can't see past the light, the vibration of the light. We only see 10% of what's going on. There's like a whole shit ton of shit going on that we can't see with our plain eyesight. The bells release a certain sound that doesn't allow them to stay in their shape. Literally, bells were everywhere all over the world, and not just regular bells, huge ones, certain type of metal, like it let off a certain sound that literally could heal your body and heal the planet. Again, thousands of these bells were removed from Europe. Why?
There you go. I think that's AI.
They also showed us in movies.
Ooh. Ring the bells all over the world.
They literally trapped your star that was floating around in space. They've erased your memory like they do when you die and you go into the light. They recycle you and they erase your memory and place you back into an embryo. Listen to me, people. This is real shit. You need to wake the fuck up, okay? You're a star at your heart. You've been cubed, okay? Your kundalini is a trap. You're a free energy machine and you can't detect it. Now you're forced to take a shit, get horny, get hungry, get a pain in your heart, a frog in your throat. Your feet, where your souls are, okay? 2 below you, 3 above you. Listen, you can put this shit together, people. They rub a lot of stuff in your faces called lesser magic. It takes your blood off of their hands, all right? You've been worshiping Saturn along with everybody else. You take your energy from the one true sun and plant an animal, and then you feed it directly to the black hole sun. That's all you do, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You breathe Satan's chemical air. You drink his fluoridated water.
What?
You eat his poison-rich foods. And when I say Satan, I mean Saturn. Saturn is, obviously, there's a cult on Earth, and they've got us all worshiping Saturn.
Come with solution, bro, not fear. Bless.
Basically what witchcraft is, it's the inversion of the proper worship that's due to God. And so what they do is they engage in rituals. So it has the same kinds of things as Catholic things, such as sacramentals that we use, which are blessed items. They have cursed items that they use. It's basically a set of rituals and belief systems which use demons as a medium to bring about the effect of their rituals. Different from us, we pray to Christ and then Christ causes these things to happen. They basically do these rituals to empower the demons so that they can do it.
Is this what's going on at the Bohemian Grove?
It seems to me that it's at its root and core just basic Moloch worship, because they have that large statue of Moloch there.
There was like a reptilian on there. He moved out from behind the beam and we could see him, and it kind of took my breath away. It was such a frightening thing to look at. And I think the reptilian may have been piloting the craft. And there was a gray. It seemed like I heard him in my head, and he was kind of thinking, why would these people do this to one of their own people? They told us it was the moon. We were taken off and then we were conducted to these buildings. I worked in some excavation equipment and it used electromagnetism to excavate. Then at night, I wasn't allowed to sleep. I was kind of passed around. I have a little girl to go back home to, so I was pretty compliant. There are extraterrestrial bases on the other side of the moon as well. And I saw an exchange, and the ET was saying, "You have no idea who you have there. Do you realize that everything you're doing to her gets reported back to her people?"
Who did the ET mean by her people?
I'm part of a fifth dimensional extraterrestrial race that's monitoring what's going on the planet.
What? Oh, you know what? Pass around as in grape.
When Nazis come into the country after World War II, they bring in thousands and thousands of Nazis. And then you got a guy named Wernher von Braun that invents the Saturn booster. Does it really surprise you that NASA means to deceive and the logo is a snake tongue sticking through? I mean, does that honestly surprise you? It doesn't surprise me. When you bring Nazis into the country, then you become best friends with Walt Disney. It doesn't surprise me that the intro to Disney looks like the parabolic curve of an actual rocket. It doesn't surprise me because, again, they brought Nazis into the country. And then, apparently, I think when Wernher von Braun died, he must have had some kind of guilty conscience because he put Psalm 191 on his gravestone talking about the firmament. But does any of this surprise me? No, not really. That's what happens when you let Nazis in and give them high-ranking positions. I mean, the creator of the CIA, Reinhard Gehlen, was also a Nazi. So does it surprise me? Absolutely not. Doesn't surprise me that our government is corrupt, that they steal money, that NASA's fake. None of it surprises me. The Epstein files don't surprise me. This shit's been going on forever. None of it surprises me because I understand it, because I've learned it, because I've read it, because I understand the history. And if you want to learn too, go there. Love you all, my opinion.
Damn Nazi.
This crypto billionaire exposes a trafficking ring in Puerto Rico led by the CIA and Mossad, then dies shortly after his post. But the most concerning part is he predicted his own death after exposing it. The day of his death, he writes on X, CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. They are going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-GF who was a spy. They will torture me to death. Hours later, he was reported dead in Puerto Rico by supposedly drowning. To this day, they have never investigated it again. Stories like Epstein, stories like Nikolai, they are not isolated. They are cracks forming in something much bigger, and God is pulling back the curtain.
Psalm 37:13. But the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. Remember that.
Remarkable story comes from a Zoroastrian visionary text known as the Arda Viraf Namag. The story centers on a priest named Arda Viraf. According to the text, Viraf is chosen by religious leaders to undertake a sacred journey that will confirm the truth of their faith.
Ooh.
Before beginning, he drinks a special mixture and enters a deep trance. His soul leaves his body. Guided by divine beings, Viraf travels through multiple realms beyond the physical world. He witnesses the heavens, the punishments of hell, and cosmic landscapes inhabited by strange spiritual entities. In ancient times, this was understood as a spiritual vision. But some modern researchers have noted how closely the experience resembles certain reports of near-death experiences, or even alleged alien abductions. Zoroastrian cosmology also contains vivid descriptions of cosmic warfare taking place in the heavens. The supreme deity Ahura Mazda is locked in an eternal struggle against the destructive spirit Angra Mainyu. These forces command entire hosts of celestial beings. In certain passages, the sky itself becomes a battleground, where divine forces of light clash with powers of darkness. Ancient believers understood these events as spiritual warfare.
God, guess what dark matter is? So this physicist named John Hagelin, he's a quantum physicist. He's worked at CERN. He works with transcendental meditation. He is suggesting that dark matter is part of mind and is separate from your consciousness. He says microcharged dark matter might be the substance that is our subtle body. Okay, so he says that science doesn't know how to look for them. They're hard to detect. And this subtle body interacts with the mind or consciousness. I'm going to blow your mind. So he calls these ethereal clouds, these superfluids are invisible. He also calls them co-processors to our consciousness. But guess what it really is? This dark matter is dark plasma. Why does that matter? This plasma researcher since 2001 has been saying dark plasma is dark matter. Let me put some things together for you on why this matters for your human magic. Basically, when they discovered dark matter in 1929, they knew it was there only by its gravitational pull on heavenly bodies. They couldn't detect it. Now, very quickly, we have to ask, what is matter? So there is this physicist rewriting plasma physics, Dr. Patrick Van Raes out of Belgium. And he's basically saying that plasma is a set of behaviors of reality. So normal three-dimensional plasma in this reality is lightning. It's the aurora borealis. It's what makes up 99.9% of visible matter. It's basically matter, as we are discovering, has like 33 states now of it. Basically, our reality is like a frozen plasma. Starts to move or become awake when massaged correctly by electromagnetic fields or consciousness. What is invisible matter? Oh, dark matter? It's dark plasma. This dark matter that makes up the subtle body, which we've known about for thousands of years, this is how you wield your energy. This is how you do telekinesis, psychokinesis, telepathy. And if you knew it was plasma, if you knew that this held your magic powers, your literal moving your energy with your consciousness, magic powers, you would make some more connections. Maybe people don't want that. You would be empowered with magic. Instead, we'll call it dark matter and confuse everyone. Or, like the CIA called it, we'll call it bioplasma and study it behind your backs for the last 100 years. Bioplasma, this what I call four-dimensional plasma, dark plasma, is your subtle body. What is it? The divine feminine that has been suppressed. What is the divine masculine? Consciousness. They work together to create reality. Think about it. We are in an ocean of plasma that is the fabric of our reality. It's just a plasma, a complex exotic plasma. Science doesn't know how to look for yet because we don't have the right tools. But get on the train because this is going to be proven. This is the future. This bioplasma, this dark matter, this 4D plasma holds your magic, your emotions, your thoughts. It is your Merkaba. It is going to be how we travel timelines, dimensions. And if you knew that, you wouldn't need technology. All you would need is your consciousness. Isn't that a little dangerous to have that much power?
Yeah.
Learn more about secret plasma. Comment plasma to learn more. It's your magic.
Man, this is hurts my brain. Too much information.
All of it's made by very wicked, evil people. Dude, this idea of just continual lust, continual entertainment with demonic things never ends, dude. I mean, we love psychopaths. We love murderers. We love Joker and Jason and Freddy and Art the Clown. We love it. We love witchcraft. We love the Disney Channel full of ancient witchcraft.
Stranger Things.
We love it. We can't get enough. And then the Christians, they revert to less wicked things, thinking that it's better when it's not. And every one of those movies, you name it, PG-13 or rated child, rated adult, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. It is made by all the same production companies. And we just found out that half these people were on islands like Epstein Island. You know what I'm saying? And at what point do you wake up and go, I'm being entertained by the devil. He's seducing me and I need to give my life to Jesus. At what point, guys?
Man,
the
amen.
whole world is falling apart. So what does each man do? A man is called to serve the Lord. You can make an actual lasting difference by stepping out in faith.